This video has a couple of helpful tips if you have Cummins codes 1921 or 1922, which are for excessive soot load. So 1921 means we have too much soot in the DPF. 1922 means not only we have too much soot in the DPF, but we also have a PCM lockout, meaning that it's PCM prohibited and you're not going to be able to command a regen, either by hitting the button on the dash or by commanding a regen with a scan tool. So this puts you in what appears to be a catch-22. You have a DPF that needs a regen, however the trouble code prevents you from doing the regen. To get around this, you need to perform a DOC or a Dpf reset. So we're going to use this ProLink Ultra to plug into this school bus. It's a 2015 Cummins ISB. It has a 1921 and later a 1922 in it. And you can see here when we ID this 1922, it gives me a little bit of description as to what the cause is. It says excessive Dpf back pressure or excessive soot load. And on the bottom of here it says conditions for clearing the fault code. And it says perform a Dpf reset procedure. And so again, we're going to clear a code, but we're going to do it not by hitting the clear code button. We're going to do it by hitting this Dpf reset procedure. So you're going to see here in a second when we command this regen that it says, PCM prohibited. We're locked out of performing this test because this code is present. And in order to clear the code, we have to do a DOC maintenance reset. So this is something that trips up a lot of technicians. They see the code is present, they try to clear the code, but it immediately boomerangs or doesn't clear at all. And then they're not able to perform the Dpf regen to get this vehicle rolling again. So we'll take a quick peek at the data. So I grab my Dpf data. You'll see Dpf soot load is above normal, most severe, and right below it, it says Dpf regen status ECM prohibited. So here we are. I have high soot load, and I cannot do a regen because the ECM has me locked out. And again, it has me locked out because of this code. If I look at my Dpf back pressure at idle here, I'm 0.28 inches of mercury. So not excessive here at idle at all. And I grab my soot load and it's 3.63 ounces. And this is way high. The average soot load on this for a full Dpf is about 2.3 ounces. And so we're, not quite a third higher than that. All right. We're going to use a great Cummins tool here, which is after treatment history. It's in the test menu. And it'll list the last 10 regens that this truck has performed. And I'm going to look at a few things here. So notice in the second column, we've had several regens where we had above normal soot load. But in the far left column is really where the rubber meets the road here. So notice that from the bottom here, I have 68.50 hours, then 68.65. So it's 15 hours between regens. That's not terrible. Then I go up 3 hours between the next two, 65 to 68. Then only 1 hour, then a half hour. And so this truck is in trouble. I should have, in normal circumstances, I have 24 hours between regens. And this is having rapid fire regen, so it's definitely in trouble. So let's command a stationary regen and see what happens. So you see we grab it from the top of the menu there, get a little warning screen, and we immediately say ECM prohibited. And we knew this was going to happen, of course, because we didn't do our DOC Dpf reset yet, right? And we knew that that was going to happen because if you have a 1921 or 1922, that's one of the prerequisites to perform a regen. So we command this this DOC Dpf reset, and it says reset in progress. And then it tells you to turn the key off, and it says the key's got to be off for 100 seconds while we're waiting for the PCM to power down. Now, it might happen a lot faster than this, right? Because this 100 seconds is required for us if the DEF line is charged, right? So if we've had DEF pressure, it takes about 1.5 minutes to vacuum that line out and return all the DEF to the tank. But this one didn't have that, so you see it happens a lot faster. Then it says turn the key back on. And now we'll start communicating with the PCM again and go back into this test, and we're going to make sure that it happened. And so if we get an affirmative message here, it's going to tell us that this has happened, and that's basically a message back from the PCM said I did this DOC Dpf reset successfully. And so there you go, you see it completed. So now we go command the Dpf regen again. So start the truck, command the test, just like before. And you're going to see immediately, again, ECM prohibited. And it's because, notice we have two active faults. Now, I don't click on the screen so you can see them, but it's a code 1921 and 1922 happening all over again because it immediately had high back pressure as soon as I started the truck. So here's what we're going to do different this time. I'm going to perform my DOC DPF reset again. And this time I'm going to command my regen before I start the truck. So you'll see that happen. So here we go again. DOC DPF reset in progress a second time. And again, got to command it, got to wait for the PCM to power back down again, and then back up again. And so, sorry for the boredom here. We're waiting for this PCM to shut back off. Any day now, there we go. And turn the key back on again. Initialize communication. We'll get our positive message back saying we performed this test successfully. And then, here in just a second, so, okay, out of here, command my stationary regen again. And this time you'll see a message that says, can't do it because the engine's not running. So it says engine speed has to be greater than 0. So we've commanded the regen before we started the truck. And so let's see, this time, boom, immediately we go in, test is active. And you see I still have a really high soot load on this thing, still 3.27 ounces. It's above normal. But the cool thing is that, again, I commanded this test before I started the truck. So this is how you get the truck out of being PCM prohibited on a regen due to high soot load. And it works unless you have a case of you have such high exhaust back pressure that it will still throw you out of the test. And if that's the case, you know, you're going to have to take the DPF off and either replace it or have it cleaned. So just to recap what we did here, we commanded the DOC reset. It went normally. Then we commanded the regen before we started the engine. We saw the error message, said, sorry, your RPMs are too low. Start the engine, and then the regen will start to take place. So here we are. We're doing a regen. You see we got some high exhaust gas temps already. So DOC intake on the top, that's right out of the engine, so 831 degrees. And DPF intake is only 804. So this shows me what is my temperature coming out of the oxidation catalyst, and it had to be better be higher than the intake, and I don't have that in this case. So this truck struggled bringing my DOC temperatures up. So notice my soot load's going down a little bit, but it's been taking a while in order to light the oxidation catalyst. So that was one of several troubles this truck had. So here we go. Again, DOC intake 830, DPF intake 815. And again, I should be higher on the DPF intake, but I am not. But either way, in the middle of the list there, you see catalyst soot filter outlet temp at 803. And if I'm 800 degrees, man, I'm burning soot. And so so I still got some good temps back there, even though my oxidation catalyst isn't lit like it should be. So if I watch my soot load here, you can see 2.76 ounces. That's down from our 3 1/4 that we had before. You'll see it dropping again 2.75 before I move the screen. And now look at my temperatures here. So DOC intake 884, DPF intake 909. So good. Finally, my DOC is lit, making some heat, burning the fuel that's being dosed down my exhaust. And my catalyst outlet temperature is not quite 900 degrees. So either way, I'm still burning soot, and my regen is taking place, although I sure would like to see some higher temperatures back here. But we're burning soot, and so 2.55 ounces now. Still, I have soot load above normal, but I'm in least severe rather than most severe, so I'm making progress. But again, the purpose of the regen is not just to clean the soot out of the exhaust. Purpose of this regen, the stationary regen where I'm watching all my numbers, to try to diagnose what's wrong with this truck. If there was nothing wrong with it, it wouldn't be in the shop in the first place. And so I can see here, part of what my trouble is with this truck is that I have low regen temperatures, at least low stationary regen temperatures. Also notice I have 0.45 inches of mercury DPF outlet pressure. And I should have very, very little outlet pressure. So this is like plugged muffler, or in this case, this truck had a plugged SCR catalyst. So we had lots of dried DEF in the exhaust, in the decomposition tube, and lots of dry def inside the SCR cat. And that was really what the major trouble with this truck ended up being. So notice my soot load again, 1.77 ounces. It's still dropping. And so at this point I bail. I said, oh, look, I've got this regen is taking forever. Here's what I'm going to do. I got a nice hot exhaust. I'm going for a ride. And so we bailed on the regen, and now I'm going to take this thing out for a zip around the block. So notice my soot load on the bottom here is now 0.79 ounces. Right above it, catalyst soot filter outlet temperature, 1100 degrees. So as soon as we started rolling this thing down the road, it was like, boom, we went from 800 to 1000 degrees on the DPF outlet. So remember what's happening here. If I have a DPF that's full of soot, and I command a regen in order to burn that soot out of there, notice again that catalyst outlet goes over 1000 degrees. That's hotter than it is coming out of the engine. So I'm burning soot, and I see the result of that out the tailpipe. Again, 1000 degrees of DPF outlet temperature. But now watch, it'll start to drop like a rock. So 950 here, 940, and so what we've got going on is now I am out of soot. It is over, so 800 degrees, right? Or be under 800 here in just a split second. And notice my soot load underneath it also dropping like a rock, because the PCM knows this. It says, all right, my DPF outlet temperatures dropped precipitously, and then that means that we've flamed out, and my soot load has got to be 0 or close to it. So they're going to start marching that soot load right straight down towards 0 until it gets there. So the final conclusion on this truck was that we had a few bad parts. Now first we had a plugged DPF, but it was able to regen, especially when we drove down the road. So I was confident that the DPF is okay, because as soon as I saw any volume of air through it with a lit DPF, the temperature skyrocketed, and it was able to burn soot. But the oxidation catalyst is a different story. We were dosing that thing for probably 4 minutes. Which you didn't see in the data, but we dosed it for about 4 minutes before it finally lit, and then it really didn't ever reach peak temperatures. It had, maybe 800 degrees on the outlet, and that's not the case. We should have 1000, 1100 degrees, especially near the end of the regen. So anyway, the oxidation catalyst was bad. And then if you look, even the DPF outlet pressures are still high in this case, sometimes over 1 inch of mercury. And so the decomposition tube and the SCR were both pretty well plugged up with DEF crystals. And the decomposition tube was really the bulk of the restriction on this. But either way, we had a few failures on this truck. We had an oxidation catalyst that didn't get hot when we went into regen, and we had high DPF outlet pressures from DEF crystals filling the exhaust.